We will kick off. Hi everyone, and welcome to the SCED training webinar and Sporty Overview. I thought we'd kick off, and I know a lot of you have met a lot of us before, but some of you may have not. So we're just going to do a super quick whip round to say who we all are. So my name's Jo Perry, I'm the Client Services Director here, and I look after the support and onboarding team.
Hey, I'm Tristan Thomas. You may have spoken to me before on the phone or via email. I look after the customer support here.
Hi, I'm Sarah Green, DM Operations here at Sporty, and I have been the project manager for the New Zealand Football Project for the past year and a half. So.
And I'm Mike Purchase, CEO of Sporty, and I'm just here to look good, really.
Okay, great. And we have also got Karen and Ange, who, when we unmute, they will be able to introduce themselves in just a minute. I'm just doing a quick check on the status.
Yep, so we're just seeing, because a few people are arriving late, team, so we're just give us a moment.
Okay, Joke. Okay, I've enabled mics and cameras. Sorry about that, everyone. So Karen and Ange, would you like to just say a quick hi?
Yeah, I'll go first. Hi, everybody. Yeah, we're here to deliver the first training webinar for football, and it's quite exciting. So I'll be helping out with the competition side of things, with the SCED setup and getting you onboarded with the SCED side of things. That's me.
Hi everybody, I work alongside Karen in the competition support team, so yep, specialise in the SCED side of things. So yeah, all things competitions, will be helping you out there.
Thanks, guys. We've got quite a large contingent online, so I'm not going to ask everyone else to introduce themselves. I think, Jo, you're planning on, could you want to give a quick,
yeah,
I guess, overview? And I'd probably worth just a couple of sentences at the start. I think everyone here should be aware that this is a process that's or project that's been running for quite some time. The early stages of this year up until May was all around developing MVP items for New Zealand football that were specified last year in 2024 and at the start of this year. Following a round of development and testing that went through June, July, etc. There were then further items that were identified as MVP, so not most valued player, but minimum viable product items that were then prioritised and triaged, and with the intention to make them available in time for originally the 1st of January. And that date was brought forward to and then that date was brought forward to the 1st of November. Just a reminder as to what that date means is that as of 1st of November, the system has become available. That includes those MVP work or development items, and with the exception of just a couple of things that I think are now. We do have, sorry, we just had slightly weird internet. We do have additional wish list items that David Button-Ginger, who's on the call, so and the NRS working group, I'm sure will prioritise and let us know what becomes priorities for 2026. Also, just a reminder, we expect 2026 to learn through that year. While I'd love to think we got everything 100% perfect out of the box, that's not necessarily realistic. We expect to learn through the year, and we will be taking feedback and showing you a mechanism to provide feedback, etc., for improvements that either need to be made through the year or in time for 2027. Not a trivial project, that having got the system in place, the very first step that we need to be doing is a configuration task. I know that different people at federations and NZF have received a couple of dreaded template spreadsheets that relate to competition management configuration. It was made clear to me last week that we probably need to be a little bit clearer around the messaging as to what those sheets were about. The parts that were important, and since this meeting does heavily cover competition management, the parts that are important for those sheets were really just to rather than requiring feds to go and set up all of these kind of default settings that then become used every time, so things like grade defaults, venues, etc. In the sporty system with grades, they are something that gets set up generally once. You can still modify them going forward, but there are settings that then get inherited whenever you create a competition. It just means that you don't need to go entering those same settings time and time again. So ultimately it's a time-saving tool, but that initial setup does create some work. To try and take that, protect or take some of that work away from federation or comp managers, the spreadsheet just makes it easier to sort of see across different grades, see those settings, copy and paste, etc. And with the intention that our team will then do that data entry for you. I think that's in terms of overview, in terms of where we've got to. So that's the bit that we're working on now is configuration. We have club training on the 19th of November, and with the intention that clubs will have access to the system from the 1st of December. And of course, there's a final stage that we're doing, which is completing the FIFA connection. The rules around FIFA is that only one organisation can be connected for New Zealand football at one point in time. So we will have a swap over from Comet or Analyticom with the FIFA connection, and with the intention that the season will start as normal on the 1st of January 2026. So that's probably just big picture context. At the end of the session, we're going to be having Q&A, and if there's anything we need to do beyond that, if there's specific areas of interest that weren't intended for this session, we will also create breakout sessions after this so that we're not boring everyone else with tears in areas that you don't have interest in. So with that context, I'll pass over to you, Jo.
No, that's good. So just I guess the brief agenda is just going to have a bit of an overview. We are going to play the sporty ecosystem video, which I know a number of you have seen before, but it really does set the scene and provide an overall context for things. Going to touch on login and access control, going into the dashboard area, talking about super forms, and then kicking into the actual competition side of things and the creating competitions. I'm just going to share my screen.
Up the top, no. It didn't include sound.
Okay, sorry.
Just stop
I'm
sharing.
going to share my screen.
So when you go up the top, up top.
Include sound.
Yeah.
I can go to the screen.
Now I'm sharing my screen, should be. And just so I'm assuming everyone can hear me okay. Clearly, maybe just a thumbs up. We are all good to go.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is the page here so this webinar is going to be recorded. We've got a link to the next webinar down here at the moment, which is the one more in relation to referees and appoint me. And we're going to be displaying the recording on this page here, which is a password protected page. The password for this is game on. So you can send it out after the meeting as well. It's game on, all lowercase, all one word. So the links to the recordings will be held here. The reason we're having them behind a password protected page is it's for federations in the NZF. This page also includes a link to the sporty processes doc. So this document here is a number of you would have seen this as part of, it was provided as part of the going through the beta testing. It was the Munty document that includes everything in relation to the platform, both from a club perspective and from the federation perspective. It's a link to it because it's still a work in progress document. We're updating it as Mike mentioned some of the final developments being done, improving it and just making sure the links to all of the support articles are referenced in here as well. But it's kind of like a bit of an overview that's 20 something pages long that covers it. So that's from that page as well. So I'm going to quickly go through our sporty ecosystem video. I've put it on slightly higher than 1.25 speed to whip through it, but it just actually kind of shows the end-to-end solution. Some of the screenshots we appreciate are a bit out of date, but it just provides that sort of whole of sporty solution.
Provided by
Here we
Sporty.
go.
The Sporty platform is built to meet the needs at all levels: national sports organisation, regional organisation, club, school, team.
Oh, Sorry.
This video gives an overview of the whole of sports solution provided by Sporty. The Sporty platform is built to meet the needs at all levels: national sports organisation, regional organisation, club, school, team, coach, and individual participant. The starting point is the official registration form for players, coaches, and managers. The national organisation decides the key fields of data it needs to capture, such as name and date of birth. The registration form is then shared with each affiliated regional sports organisation. Each regional organisation can easily add their own question fields to the official form if they wish. The official form is shared further to each affiliated club and school. This is where the power of superforms comes in. Each club and school can also add their own question fields to their copy of the official registration form. This is important because it allows clubs and schools to use the official form as their own sign-up method. This saves clubs and schools from needing a separate member management system. It's easy for clubs and schools to display their own version of the official form on their website, Facebook, or email. Web forms from Sporty are fully responsive for mobile, making registration simple. All registration records automatically update into the database for the relevant club or school. And data also becomes visible to each regional sports organisation and to the national body. Each level can only see and access data relating to people under them. Sporty already provides a free dashboard for every single sports club and school in New Zealand, so they simply log on to view and manage the database of people registered through their form. They can drill into records, run reports, and send group communications to their own community if they wish. Sporty also provides each club and school with a Team Builder utility for organising people into teams. Team Builder gives a different view of the same database. In Team Builder, clubs and schools can add teams within the grades set by the regional organisation. They simply drag and drop the people into teams. The teams added in Team Builder automatically become visible to the regional organisation within SCED, the Sporty competition management system. This avoids the need for manual entry of teams. SCED supports all competition formats, including round robin, knockout, crossover, tournaments, and more. You can even upload your own draw format from Excel if you wish. SCED lets competition managers drag and drop teams between grades and pools, then generate a draw with just one click. SCED includes a great venue and calendar view that shows all games at each venue. It's easy to make changes by simply dragging and dropping games between venues and time slots if you wish. Once the draw is ready, the competition manager publishes all or part of it live. The fixtures then display on the competition manager's website and can be embedded to display live on the websites of each affiliated club and school, so people can easily see who's playing who and when. The draws and results are designed to display well on mobile phones, making it convenient for people wherever they are. For a full end-to-end solution, Sporty also provides a game day app that allows regional organisation and competition managers to avoid paper card team sheets and handwritten scoring. The Sporty Game Day app lets team managers and coaches automatically see fixtures relating to their own team. The app is online with Team Builder, so there is no need to manually enter the names of players. On game day, the coach or manager simply taps the people that will be playing that day. And the app makes scoring simple, recording game events and updating scores all the way back to the public websites if desired. There's even a live match centre view that shows each team's lineup of players for game day, along with points scored, scorer details, yellow and red cards, and substitutions minute by minute throughout the game. At the end of the game, the final score is submitted and automatically updates back to SCED, competition management system. So standings tables automatically update. Competition managers can also generate reports of who's played in which team for each game. For sports that appoint official referees and umpires, Sporty offers Appoint Me, a solution that lets refs and umpires set their own availability on a calendar. Appoint Me makes it easy to appoint refs and umpires to upcoming fixtures. Appoint Me is fully online with SCED competition management system, so whenever a fixture is changed, the referee or umpire is notified automatically. Sporty also provides Super CRM, a member management system for each organisation at every level, national, regional, and club or school. Super CRM keeps everyone's contact details, notes, and history in one place. It lets you see a clean grid view of all members and contacts. Set your grid to show whatever columns you like. Click a person to see their profile and any contact you've had with them. Super CRM automatically updates whenever they sign up or renew and whenever you email them. You can add your own notes if you wish. There's even a clever reminder feature to alert you to a future date if you wish. It's easy to filter your people by their role, age, grade, or other characteristics. Then you can send a group email, or a great-looking e-newsletter, or email them a magic link they can click to renew their membership, or sign up for a holiday program or event. This method pre-fills their details automatically and avoids the headaches associated with requiring people to log in. Easily create your own reports and save them to reuse in the future, with output to CSV or Excel with just one click. Each level of sport can use the powerful Sporty Form Builder to add their own question fields to the online registration forms. It's easy to use the predefined system fields that are ready for you, or you can create your own fields and simply set the type answer you want, such as yes or no, multi-choice, or text comment, etc. You can even let people upload photos or documents, and schools can connect with Kmart to automatically bring in each student's ID. Add products, family discounts, and accept online payments if you wish. Whenever someone completes your form, their record automatically updates into Super CRM and is added to their timeline for you. Sporty is fully integrated with payment providers such as Debit Success, Stripe, and Poly, making it easy for people to pay you online. And Sporty is a Xero partner, so it can create invoices and let you easily reconcile payments. The Financial tab in Super CRM lets you see everyone's financial history over all time. Super CRM also has an organisations grid. This is hierarchical, so national and regional sports organisations automatically see their affiliated organisations under them. It's also useful for keeping contacts for any organisations such as sponsors, suppliers, funding partners, and other stakeholders, making group communications simple. Super CRM is cloud-based and secure, giving you a single source of truth for all of your contacts over all time. It was built to be mobile first, meaning that all this functionality is fully accessible via phone. There's a great visual metrics view to give you the business intelligence insights you need for management, planning, and reporting. The Sporty ecosystem includes website builder, web form builder, online registrations, holiday programs, attendance tracking, payments, e-newsletters, team builder, sked competition management system, game day app for team sheets and live scoring, match center, referee and umpire management, player transfer system, e-learning integration, and Super CRM for local member management and national databases. Use the Sporty platform to reduce paper, improve the experience of your
Okay. Presentation effect as well. That was a slightly older version of our Sporty ecosystem video, which had some older screenshots on it, but it's essentially the ethos of it is all the same. So I'm going to now click into my starting point of where we're actually going to be in our federation site. So I appreciate that that video as well, sorry, is not going to be relevant to some of the people who don't have access to the different levels of sporting, but it hopefully just provides that overview.
So probably also just very aware that some of the people attending this are already highly experienced Sporty users and other people are first timers. So that's always makes it a little bit hard to get to pitch at the right level for everyone. So apologies to the more experienced people as we cover a few of the basics, but still important, I think, to do those basic things around explaining the dashboard and user access control, etc.
Yeah, so every organisation has a dashboard as well as the federations. All of the clubs and schools do have the same dashboard view as well. They don't have the tiles enabled, are enabled depending on their access level. But the key kind of areas that we're going to talk about today is in the online registrations and team builder area and the sked area as well. I'm just going to quickly touch into admin settings because this is a bit of a set and forget area as well, and it's the area that you will go into as federations and particularly into this login and access control area. So this will show you who at your federation has the contact, who has login access and what level of access that they have. All of the primary contacts for the federations have full access to all areas and you can grant additional access to other people, or if you have any queries, can you email us, our support team at support@sportsground.com, and we can help you get set up as well. There are two levels of access, which is the sked access, a sked administrator access, and the referee appoint me access that we at Sporty can grant. So we are the ones that initially grant that access to those areas. There is another level of sked administrator access called a sked restricted admin access. If you are a full sked administrator, you can grant someone access to have limited sked access. And what that is that's a specific folder of competitions or a group of competitions. You can give them access to that area. So just back in here in relation to the dashboard side of things, and I'm going to just hop into online registrations and talk about super forms. So currently the federations, and this is in our test environment, so things aren't exactly the same as what you're seeing at your end at the moment, is you will have the 2026 super forms that are applied. So super forms is a sporty term that refers to that hierarchical form that is created at the NZF level and then deployed to federations, districts and clubs and schools. Super forms are, we as in Sporty, we create the super forms, we apply the super forms to an organisation's site each year. You can't create a super form, it's something that we do that end. That's a query that sometimes does get raised. Under your, which will be 2026, you'll have two headings here, football and futsal. Now, and these are some of the super forms that are going to be available. The names are slightly different to what you're currently seeing in your live production environment. But I just wanted to point out this down the right-hand side, and this is, you can see that I'm unable to delete this. So a super form is a form that you will never be able to delete. You can't click on it. So if you are trying to understand the difference between it. With these forms that sit in here, the competitions are created using an underlying player super form. So that's a fundamental of how Sporty is set up. When you create a competition, it will relate to one of these underlying player super forms. So we've got our football one here, our eligibility one here. If I come down into futsal, it will largely be the futsal player form, which isn't actually in here, and it's not like the performance one as well, the premier player. But you won't really be coming in here to do anything with your actual player registration super form. You will be coming in here to do other tasks against some of your super forms that sit here, as for example the disciplinary case ones. So with these ones with special icons here.
So we'll be covering that in detail on the session on the 19th, I believe, Jo, which is the post-game kind of thing that covers refereeing as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
You will have against some of them this little page icon here, and this enables you to run a consolidated report. So a consolidated report is an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file of every player in this case that is registered on any one of your hierarchical clubs and schools that fall underneath you. And so it will generate and send through, in effect, a massive report, including all of the fields on the registration form. If you're wanting it as a CSV format, is running the consolidated report. So you can see it has that little page icon there as well. If I click on it, there are different types of reports. I can run teams or just all of my registrants there. Any questions in relation to the super forms? Does everyone understand that concept of it? Good. Oh yeah, people can unmute themselves if they want to. Cool. Lovely. Okay. So I'm just going to pop into Team Builder. So in Team Builder area, Team Builder is will be set up in years, and you'll start to see over time your history build of your super forms. So at the moment for my test ABC Federation, as my competitions are created, they will appear down in here. So you will end up with many competitions, or depending on the number of competitions that you have created, that come down and expand from here. So I'm just going to click to expand and go and do that.
So probably just a quick aside. So Karen and Ange, who are on the call, are our management specialists. They will be working with you and available to you to help you set up comps. The way comps are organised in Sporty is different than in Comet. So already mentioned that Sporty has the concept of grades. There are a couple of other differences in terms of the way that we would advocate grades being part of the same comp, and comps within Sporty run in phases. So you might start off with a pool play or a couple of pool plays. You could go to a crossover phase. You could then progress to another pool play. Then you might progress to a knockout stage or a tournament kind of finish. So all of those are phases within one competition in Sporty, which is quite different to the way that they were organised as almost separate competitions in Comet. But again, there'll be more specific information will be provided when you are at the stage of wanting to create your comps.
So I'm going to click into this settings cog here, and this is the grade attributes area. So by clicking into this, the first thing it does is ask me to select a form. So this will be selecting one of the player super forms that you will be creating a competition against. Largely, it's going to be the football player registration form or the social futsal form. So I'm going to click into this one. This shows all of the grades that have been configured for my federation. Obviously, a lot of you are going to have many, many more grades. Any grades that are currently being set up for you in SCED using that the SCED defaults document that we sent through. If you come into this grade attributes area, you will see those grades that are appearing in here. So these will mirror the same grades that are currently showing in SCED as well. A couple of things that you will be doing when you go to or prior to creating your competitions is setting your grade eligibility. So each grade has the ability to set their grade eligibilities. That's things like whether it's gender or age based coming in here. The other thing that you will be doing in here is managing the team entry and opening dates and player selection dates. So that's the dates that your clubs and schools can enter teams up to a certain date and then go and add their players into the teams up to those dates.
So I think an important differentiation here is that in Sporty here, in comparison to Comet, in order for players to be selected into a game day team, utilising the app, the players do need to be in a squad or in a roster, as you called it, in Comet. And so that's what that player selection cut-off date is. The last date players can be put into their squads.
Yeah, these are typically, they always show at the moment to be the end date of the season, which is why they're shown to be the 31st of December. So you can either go and edit them individually, or we have a bulk edit function where you can go, which is presumably you'll be using that a lot, where you can go and edit them all at once. You'll be changing them there.
So the settings you set here are those that are then become imposed on the club. So when they go into their version of Team Builder, they won't be able to do like add teams, for example, after the team entry cut-off date, because at that point you'll be wanting to make the build the competitions, etc., knowing that clubs aren't able to add or withdraw teams automatically without contacting you.
As the competition administrator, you have the ability to override that. So you can then add teams on their behalf if you're wanting to allow a late team to come in. And likewise, you can move players into squads past the cut-off dates if you're wanting to enable that as well. So I'm just going to go and here's my competitions that have been created. So as you go and, so my starting point is in having my grade default set up. My next point will be actually coming and creating the competition. So the competition will have a name, just create a brief one. In this case, it will be the football player registration form that I'm selecting. And then this is where I determine what grades I'm going to be adding into my competition. So that'll be from that big grade drop-down list. We are doing some enhancements too in this area as far as the ability of selecting your organisations is the next step. So there's going to be some, this is going to be slightly configured differently when you come in here. But essentially, select organisations is selecting all of the organisations that you're going to make this competition available to. So as part of the mapping exercise we're doing at the moment, we're currently mapping all of the Comet organisations and making sure and setting up a Sporty organisation for that. And that's to enable this drop-down list to be visible of all of the organisations that you want to select. There's a select all feature, or if you happen to be running a school competition, you might just select your schools that are associated with that. You can see I don't have a lot of organisations in here, but this will be a big drop-down list of all of them. So as part of my creating a competition, I then go and create my competition. There's the ability to set your competitions within different folders, and the relevance to this is in relation to limited SCED administrator access. You have the ability to limit SCED access to a particular competition. So it may be that for your junior comps, your a SCED administrator that only looks after junior comps has access to the SCED junior comps folder. So I'm just going to put this one in my cut. So what's that's done, it's increased my count to 12 and it's created my competition, which display here alphabetically. Every competition that has created has an associated team entry form, and that's what is displayed to clubs when they go to enter their team. They enter their team into a particular grade and they complete the details of the team entry form. There is the ability for the federations to go with competition administrators to come in and edit the team entry form that's been created, because you might want to include some particular information about it. So it might be some introductory text if it's, say, happen to be a tournament, some information that you want to add in here. There are default details that are displayed every time a team is entered. But there is also the ability, if you're wanting to ask questions at the time a team is entered. So it may be adding a question, and I'm just going to go through our form builder area. Sorry, yep. So I'm going to add in a single line of text, and as for example, you can add as many questions as you like in here. They could be yes, no questions, anything that you wanted to, and you can decide whether or not you're going to make them required or not. Presumably you would, if you're adding a question here, you're wanting teams to add it. There's also an area for terms and conditions, but this section here is, so if you're wanting to add terms and conditions each time a team is entered, probably not for your main competitions, it would just be, might be for a tournament that you're running. This comes down to an area where you can add products and where, for example, team entry fees. So I'm just going to touch on this briefly, and because we can cover it in a later session of those federations that want to, but essentially you can set it so that as a team is entered, it records a team entry fee against that club or school that you can then invoice them either at the time of the team is entered or at a later stage. So presumably for your, say, main winter competitions, you'll be wanting to invoice at a group stage. So that would be a setting that you enable. So I'm just going to call this team fee. This lets you set up triggers to trigger it so that when the team fee is team is entered, it actually records against the individual. You can connect through to Xero or MYOB here, and even add in tracking codes as well. So essentially, this is my my competition, my team entry, my competition's been created, the grades have been selected, the organisations that are contributing into this competition have been added, and I'm good to go. So my competition is now ready to take team entries. If I logged into one of my affiliated club sites, in their team builder, they would see under ABC Federation, they would now see this available for them to go and add teams. So the communication to your clubs will be that their competitions will be able to be entered once you actually create them and ensure that the grades are open for the teams to enter. Any questions in relation to this part of it or this understanding? Happy with that? So if I was a club or school, I know I'm logged in as a federation, but if I was a club or school, I would come in. All clubs and schools have a team builder. This is regardless of whether they're using Sporty or not, they will have this area of team builder they will click on Team Builder, they will see their competition, and they will click in here to go and add their teams into the competition. You can see that these are the 3 grades that I added. So as a school, Club School would come in here and click Add Team, and it will open up their team entry form. You can see my additional question that I added onto the team entry form was added in there. As the clubs and schools players register into their for their club or school, their players will start to appear down here on the left-hand side of Team Builder, and then they will go and drag and drop their players into their teams. And that then is their game day team that's going to be available for game day team selection.
So it creates the squad that they're able to select from in the app.
So the next part of it is we're going to be, we'll be going into and showing through Sked. And just going to click into my Sked. So you will be familiar with coming into Sked. When you come in, you land on the last competition that you happen to have opened, which in this case was one of my test competitions. If I'm coming into my organisation settings that are set up in here, this shows the locations and venues, the grade defaults. So with the grade defaults, because we have the sports of both football and futsal, this shows me my grade defaults that we are currently working through and configuring for the federations.
So Joe, if you click through into one of those, like game duration, hyperlink on the left there, 30 minutes, under 10. So as a for example, for those of you that have been, thank you everyone who's already returned those template sheets. This is the area that we take the information you've provided on the template sheets, and our staff will do the inputting for you. You can do this yourself. What we're doing here is we're just creating the defaults that competitions will make available. So if you were using under 10s for something, for another competition, using that same grade, it just makes it easier for you because it already knows that that particular game is run in 2 halves at 15 minutes per half or whatever time between games. And likewise, if there are preferred venues, etc., it will it'll just, once it's entered in here for you, then it becomes available without you needing to enter it again every time. Thanks, Joe.
And so these are my defaults that are currently set up as well. These are the points templates that we're setting. So we have a whole range of different points templates in here, understanding it's largely going to be the a standard points template that's used within here. We have a venue blackouts area. If there is a particular pitch that's being upgraded and can't be used, you can add a venue blackout so it prevents it from being selected. The officials, this will be showing the officials when it's your officials will be done through Appoint Me, so that's where your officials will be displayed, this area here. These are the organisations that you'll see mapped to you that will appear in here. It's my test case, I've only got my 3 clubs that are here, but the rest of your, once we configure up your federations, they will display in this area. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so in here is also where we'll be setting the home venues for each club. So this is another component that you're providing as part of your configuration settings. So I know that this is previously something that the clubs would set themselves because it's something that doesn't change very frequently. This is something that's set in the competition management's application settings. So we can click on the settings cog. Again, this will be preloaded for you, but this provides you with the facility to nominate a specific preferred venue or a set of venues for a specific organisation. Once these are set and we generate home and away draws, we'll allocate the draws to the fields in the order of preference that you've set in this particular area. So as an example, we've got Football Park listed here with up to 12 fields. So we could say for this particular club for all grades. They can play at any one of the football park fields. However, alternatively, we could say for our NHL grade, as an example, they will only ever play on field 1. So we can define specific attributes. So instead of defining an attribute per team, like you did in Comet, in Sporty, it's defining that attribute per grade. And then that is that's going to flow on for you year on year, so that you know that the teams that are in your top level leagues will only ever play on their number 1 field. They won't be allocated a home and away draw to any other applicable field. So once again, that's a configuration component that will be pre-set up for you, but you can go and modify those settings at any time.
The competition folders were what we just touched on before, which skewed when I went and created a competition to select which one it was. This will give the ability to go and invite additional SCED results administrators with limited access into these competitions in here. You can add folders, you can amend the name of what folders are that sit in here. So the organisation settings are kind of the set and forget. They can be added to and they can be amended at any time that's set in there. So what I was just going to do was I was going to pass over to, if I can pass over to Karen and Ange, or Karen, just to run through a couple of competition that you've created or set up, just to show an example of a draw. Karen, can I pass over to you? I've just stopped my sharing, and can you let me know if you can share or need access to share? You are on mute just at the moment.
The share button's actually grayed out. I think you need to give me the host, I think, yeah.
Up in the top under people.
Sorry, I thought I'd had that enabled, Karen.
That's all right.
Yeah, if you want, Karen. Yeah.
I can make it as a presenter, yeah. Okay, Karen, that should be enabled for you.
It is, thank you.
While Karen gets set up, just a reminder for everyone that this is intended for the session as still a high level overview. It's not intended to get into every single setting. Following this, we'll make sure that everyone has their, in terms of competition management, there is really in-depth online support and video training sessions available to you as well. But most importantly, Karen and Ange will be available for human support.
Cool. As Joe mentioned, this is where the SCED tile sits on your dashboard, and as soon as the team entry form is created, it also at the same time creates a competition in SCED for you. And then as teams enter, as Joe's mentioned, the teams will start also appearing in your SCED. Now, by default, it opens and draws and results, as we've mentioned. The reason for that is because most of the season, the draws and results area is the area that you'll be mainly working in. Whereas at the beginning of the season, when you're creating your competitions, you'll do a lot of work in Comp Builder, which is the first tab of SCED here. So this competition actually has 3 phases, but we'll go to round 1 because that's your starting point of your competition. These teams have already entered. You can start seeing the teams enter. What we've done is created a couple of draws. Now, in the settings cog in each round, you'll see that the grade default information that we're currently putting into the organisation settings has started to populate for you. And as we mentioned, you can make modifications to this area at any stage. So if this is what came through from organisation settings and you said, oh no, I'm going to do something else in the first phase, we're going to have longer games or shorter games, you could just make a change there, and that will be inherited into the draw when you generate it. In this case, we've got a Div 1 grade that plays home and away. And they play on a full-size field, and I've set some dates for this round in here. So that every phase you need to set your dates. You can't avoid having to do that. That's part of creating that phase. We've also got a junior grade in this particular comp, and they only play on a half-size field. So they're still going to use the same fields that your full-size games play on, but it's only going to assign half of that field to each game. And then each game will receive a suffix of A or B, or if you're using it in 4 portions, it would have A, B, C, D, etc. So you have a choice of full, half, 1/3, or a quarter of a full-size field for a grade. And because this particular junior comp doesn't actually play home and away, we've also set it up to play on particular fields at the football park. We've also added some dates for the round. You'll notice that this show and ladder button is unticked. That's because this particular grade isn't competitive. It's a junior grade. We don't want to keep a standings table. We won't be recording results or publishing results. Or we possibly will be recording them, but we won't be making that publicly viewable because it's a junior grade. So having set the dates for the grades and the information is pulled through from your organisation settings, you can save that and generate a draw. We've actually generated these draws for juniors, and you'll notice that we had selected for them to play 2 games and on, so they're playing back-to-back games. It's a double header basically. Which is how some junior football works. They play 2 games on a Saturday type of thing. So you'll notice that it's got the A and the B suffix on the fields so that they know that they're playing on a half a size field, and they'll go to field 9A or 9B. So the reason why it's good to set half-size venues for your small-size games is because if, for instance, you were also staging a full-size game at 9 o'clock and you accidentally put it on field 9, it would then validate a clash for you to say, hey, half of that field's already in use, so you've over used that field. It's not possible to schedule a game at 9 o'clock for a full-size game, that type of thing. I'll just scroll up and go to the Div 1 senior draw. This was the home and away comp, so you'll notice that when this draw was generated, it gives you a balance, a count of home and away, and that gives you a clear view whether it's been evenly balanced. In this case, it is perfectly balanced, but just say I'll just take this particular game off the calendar, and I'm going to swap the home and away. And you'll see straight away what happens then. It's now showing you clearly that there's an imbalance of home and away games for these particular teams. So it is a good way for you to manage your home and away accounts. The system will automatically try and give an even home and away balance. It won't be able to alternate home away one week, away the next, obviously, because they'll be playing teams that played away last week. But as best as possible, it will try and balance the home and away and make it switch between a home and away draw from one week to the next. So if we wanted to go and have a look how an actual draw is generated, these teams have entered. Your next job is to put in some dates into the seniors grade. So I'm just going to choose the next.
Div 3.
Sorry?
Was it Div 3 grade or seniors grade?
Oh, sorry. Well, I can use either. Yeah, I'll use the seniors one. I can see that's not been generated either. Sorry. So I'm just going to save a few dates there and save that setting. And then it's just about generating the draw basically. And it's going to adopt those dates that I just put in. It's going to give you the opportunity to make some changes. So this particular game needs to be at 2 p.m. So we're going to change the time of that one. It also gives you the opportunity to switch rounds. So if for instance, you had a situation where there was a bye in a competition and a particular team needed a bye on a particular date, you can swap the rounds so that that team gets the bye on the date it was required. There's also the opportunity to use a bulk edit option up here. If you wanted to swap a team within the draw throughout the draw, you'd use bulk edit. You wouldn't simply use a drop down option like that because you'd unbalance the home and away count. I mean, the round robin calculation, you would then find that a fixture would repeat further down in the draw, like that one there. If you've done some modifications to the draw and you think, no, I need to start again, there's a regenerate option. And you simply have to choose a date that's prior to the first round to regenerate the draw. And that basically will lose any manual editing you've just done, but it will also allow you to start again, basically. I was talking about bulk edit. There's the bulk edit option. If I wanted to swap this team and this team throughout the draw, I can just do that. They're now fully swapped and the draw has maintained balance in terms of a round robin format. So once you've done all your assessment of the draw and you're happy with the way it looks, you then simply add it to the calendar. And what that does, it locks that draw into the calendar, which will prevent any other fixtures using these fields at these particular times. If another grade did try and use the same field at the same time, which will just show you what it would look like. If another draw tried to add a draw to the calendar at 12 o'clock on field 1 on the 7th of November, it's going to say this venue is already booked. It's going to tell you details of where it's been used. You can say, okay. You could go, well, I'm going to leave that game unallocated for now and save the draw as unallocated for that particular game. And then we have what we call, what we have is a calendar view or a venue view in this area here. And once that builds, it shows you all the games that have been added to your calendar. It gives you the opportunity to move games. So there's those senior games on the 14th, and we weren't sure where we were going to. Sorry, I'll just tick on unallocated. There was a game that we weren't sure where we were going to be able to schedule that game. Sorry, I think we're on the wrong date there. One moment. 7th of November, sorry about that.
So that venue view is designed by design to open up in a new window, especially helpful for those of you that have 2 screens. I always find it really, really helpful to have 2 screens running if I'm building a drawer, because as Karen was showing you, you're building each of the drawers pool by pool or section by section. So even though you may have multiple grades competing in a single competition, each of those pools drawers is generated at a time. Having the venue view open on a separate tab, it means that as you're building those drawers, you can see what other fixtures are being hosted on other venues. So you can make those modifications using those drop downs instead of always waiting on the system to make its recommendations. You can apply your recommendations based on what you can see in front of you on the venue view.
Thanks, Sarah. So there's the game that we weren't sure where we were going to place it, so we can actually drag and drop it onto this view. And in doing that, it gives you the opportunity to optimize your venue allocations, but it also updates in all areas. So by moving that game from unallocated to a field, has now updated all areas of SCED. So it's now updated the draw. It's no longer unallocated. It would have updated your website widget if your draw was published. It would have updated the My Football Manager app as well with the correct venue. I'm just going to show you the next phase in this competition, and then what I've created here is what we call a reverse phase. And this is quite good for home and away competitions that run over more than one round, because what it will do is it replicates round one, but it reverses the home and away position of each team. So this team would have been playing away. It still gives you a balance of home and away, but it means that the home team is now being reversed in all games. And it's particularly useful where you do have a double round and you want teams to have one game against a team at home and one game against that exact same team away. And following that, I've also created a playoff phase for this particular grade. In this case, they play a semi-final and final. I will just show you how a playoff phase is created. When you add a phase to a competition, you have to give it a name. I'll just give it, finals will do. You can't have two phases with the same name. That's why I didn't call it playoff. You choose what type of phase. So that reverse phase I just showed you, I chose reverse phase. But when you create a playoff phase, you choose phase type playoff. You link it to whatever round where the results contribute to who plays who in a final. So I'm just going to link this to my reverse phase. So what that's done, it said that the contributing phase for this playoff is round two reverse phase. Now, if one of these particular grades didn't play in round two, like for instance, juniors, they didn't, they only played in round one, but you still want them to have a final, you can choose final for them. You can choose, you've got 4 options: prelims, quarters, semis and finals, quarters, semis and finals, semis and finals, or just finals. I'm going to say that this Div 1 grade has semis and finals. You will be required to put in some dates for your semis and finals. I'll have to use future dates. And then when you add that phase, it literally starts building a recommendation of a playoff for you. So you'll see that it's only built a final for the junior grade, and they literally might play A1 versus B1, that type of thing. So you might want to rearrange these. There's an option to do that. You can just move them around. You can kind of piggyback them while you're building the phase, etc. And then it will also give you a recommendation for a semi-final, then a final. Once again, you've got the opportunity to push a team straight through to finals by giving them a bye in the semi-finals. And if they get automatic qualification to the finals for whatever reason. Yeah. Once you're happy with the way you've formatted your icons here, you simply generate the draw and add it to the calendar. Because this is a home and away comp, you're not going to know which ground it's going to be played on unless you play all your finals at a centralized location. It's going to let you decide once you know who the home team should be for that particular final. So I'm just going to add that to the calendar. These will remain placeholder icons, what we call placeholder icons, A1, B1, etc., until all the results from the contributing phase have been submitted. And then they will automatically turn into team names at that point. So this means that you can stage your finals in advance so people know what's coming up for them. And then eventually they will know which final they're playing in, depending on where they ranked in the contributing phase. I probably won't go into any more detail about playoffs yet, but it's probably more of a federation specific thing when we have more individual sked trainings that you'll learn more about that side of things. What I am going to do is just go over to the draws and results area, which is your next tab over from Comp Builder. And I'll go to the round robin phase for this. This is where you'll start seeing games appear with results based on how they're being scored. So typically they're going to be scored on the app or by a results manager, but you as a sked administrator can also come in here and submit scores as well, or amend scores. If a score hasn't been submitted by a team, you can come and do that for them in this area here. But as you actually start, I'll just put in some scores here just quickly. Okay, oh, that's a big score. We'll just do it. So what you'll see now is that these 4 teams have now played their game on the 14th of November, and that started building a standings table. So a standings table in sked will show number of games played, whether they've been won or lost, if they've defaulted a game, if they've had a bye. All this information pulls through to the standings table and it starts building a picture for you towards the end of the round, as games get played. So this is the standings area. This can be exported. There's grade filters. Exports in this area are in PDF, but you can export your standings table, or you can export a list of teams and what grades they're in this competition. A suggestion is that once you get access to sked, is that you just have a look at what exports provide and what might be useful to you. Same within the draws and results area. There's quite a lot of exports in this area. From this button here, you've got choices of how they appear. You've got choices of what type of fixtures you're going to export. You've got grade and competition filters, as well as these can be exported as a CSV or a spreadsheet, or a PDF in this area. Other things that you do in this particular area is you would decide to publish your draws to the website widget. So currently we're only wanting to publish our junior draws and our Div 1 draws. And what we would do is go to the draws and results area and filter those 2 grades. So I only want to show on the website my juniors and my Div 1. Then I'd choose a date range that I want to publish. So in this case, I'm going to publish the draw from the 16th of November through to the end of January, for instance.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, sorry, did you?
No, that's good.
Yeah. So I've decided I'm going to publish all the draws right through to the end of January, but even though this particular phase only goes through to the 21st of December for this grade, but I think our juniors go through further, maybe not. You'll notice that I've decided I don't want to show any results for the juniors, so that column is not ticked on. And you'll also notice that the show and ladder column is also not ticked on. That means that there will be no standings table for this junior grade. Whereas my Div 1, I want that to be quite competitive, and I'm going to be publishing the results. I'm also going to be publishing the officials, and the show and ladder means that that standings table has started to build as the results start coming in. We don't expect you to tick boxes one at a time. We do have a bulk edit option to do that, which is up here. And that's where you'll based on your date and grade filter, you can tell the system what you'd like to be publicly viewable. The other thing you can do in here is if you had a cancellation for a number of grades, one particular playing date, you can set all those games as cancelled, or you can set them as postponed as well to be played at a later date. I think Joe might have mentioned your game event reports earlier. So you've got your game event button here, and this is where it's all based on your grade and date filters, obviously. But this is where you can choose to run some reports. Probably also a good thing to get used to what's available to you when you get your access to this area, and to see what that information will provide to you. From here, I've told the system what I want the public to see. There's still another component to that, and that is adding the draws and results widget to your website, and that will then contain the information you've opted to publish. I will give you a quick example of a website widget. I've got a live one here for a recently held tournament. Napier City Rovers, they had an under-19 youth tournament recently. This is where the widget was set up. I can go into edit mode of this if I want to show you the setup. But what it's done is the settings are so that it's going to show the fixtures, the results, and the standings for this particular tournament. Same would apply if it was a season. So in the fixtures tab, obviously it's going to show you the venue, who played who. As results come in, it's also going to show you the result of that game. In the results tab, you'll also see the results as they start to be populated.
Sorry, Karen, just a reminder, for at the moment, Sporty already provides their websites, obviously, for federations, and the widget that currently exists that federations are using to display the competition information is the data that we're taking through from Comet. So at the moment, those widgets on your website that look similar to this, you will be swapping those out, or we'll be helping you swap those out. So when you go to add a widget, you'll add one, and instead of choosing the Comet widget, you'll now choose the standard Sporty widget, which is wired up to SCED. So we'll be using a different widget for 2026 onwards. The previous Comet widget, the intention is to keep that available for you in case you want to see historical games or historical fixture information. The Comet fixtures are in a slightly different format, which is why it's a different widget. And the intention is to keep that available for you, but obviously for your live draws results going forward, you'll be using the Sporty widget now. Thanks, Karen.
Cool. I won't spend much more time in this live widget anyway, but I will go back to the testing environment and show you how to create a widget, although anyway, we'll just we're in the results tab here, and I'm just going to go to the standings tab as well. So each grade is going to show tabs that their grade competed in this tournament or in this competition. So this particular grade, the men's satellite, this will all be condensed down when you open it, and then you can choose, I want to have a look at the men's main grade draws and results and standings. So in the standings area, it's going to open up with the phases that the men's main grade.
Borger.
Sorry, what was that? Sorry, there was someone talking. So this is going to show the phases that the men's main grade competed in. In this case, the phase 1, it shows their standings. They played 5 games. This is the win or loss. This is the number of points. Then they went to a knockout draw, and I believe this tournament just had semi-finals and finals for the top 4 teams, and then only 2 teams featured in the finals. So it's going to show you the ranking of the teams, but if you had 10 teams playing a final, it would show 1 to 10, etc. to create a widget, you would use your draws and results widget, and from your website you would simply go into where you wanted that content to be housed, and you would
I think most of the federations probably would have created the widget using the widget
oh,
showing
that's right, yeah, true,
details
sorry.
on their website.
Yeah,
And it'd be useful to touch on the from sending push alerts to teams
yep, sure.
from the draws and results tab, given that it's going to be quite a change this year as far as clubs starting to use the My Football Manager scoring app.
Sure.
It's worth pointing out that some federations have already used that for a couple of their competitions, and it was used at the under 19s as well. So there has been a little bit of use and exposure to that using the scoring app.
Sure. So you've got a notification bell. We've got a notify button, and you've got a notification bell here, and you've also got one alongside each fixture. So if you needed to tell the people involved in this game about something, you would use the notification. All three notification methods look exactly the same. It's who it's directed to that changes depending on which notification bell you use. So if this particular fixture changed and you wanted to let people know, or something about it they needed to know, you've got two options: email notification, and I'll show you who that would go to in just a minute, and push notification. So if you chose email notification, it's just going to give you some pre-loaded text that you might want to modify just to based on your whatever you're notifying them of. But it is going to give you the fixture details as well of that particular bell that you've used to notify. If I'll just go back one step and we'll look at the other option, which was push notification. So this will come through to an app, whereas the email will go to the email contact. And once again, you've got some automated text. Your upcoming fixture has changed. Please check the updated draw. Or you don't need to use automated text. You can put anything you want in here. Don't forget, everyone needs to wear a red hat today, that type of thing. Whatever you want people to know is what you'd use your push notifications for. I told you that one could be sent via email. The person that would receive that is the person that is on the club site that has been loaded as the email for competitions. So if you are wanting to send email notifications to your teams, you'll need to make sure that all clubs have put an email address into this area here. And then they will be
so
the
as
ones
part of the club training that we'll be going through, we'll be highlighting that for the clubs to have their email address that's actually entered in there, and it's something that so that they receive that email communication. And also by adding them in there, they can be notified of when particular competitions are closing as well, which may be useful. But that will be definitely highlighted to your clubs, that they go and add an email address through that admin settings area.
I think there was a comment on who the push notifications actually go to. Could you talk to that for us, Sarah?
Yeah, so one of the options in the push notification menu there, when Karen was mentioning that you can identify the content of the push notification that you send, it's also really important that you nominate the person that should receive that notification. Just showing that screen, Karen, will be fine. You just need to nominate the person that you're sending the notification to as well. So typically this would be your team admin. So those are people that are nominated as effectively like a team manager. They have full access to the team, to the people that participate in their team. They can see their team details and communicate with their team, etc. There are other options available for selection on the push notification, which include the ability to send a push notification directly to the referees, directly to the team managers, or to absolutely everybody that has the app, which is probably not a recommendation to utilise that option. Karen, if you could just bring up the screen so they can see what I'm talking to, that would be great. So the first drop down here, send push alerts to.
Oh, sorry. I had it ticked.
So
Yeah,
here
so
we have the
there's
option to send to team admins, team scorer, the referee or sporty app users. Most typically, you're going to be sending that to team admins and team scorers. Those are the people responsible for that team. So that might be something like, hey, we still haven't seen your team sheet from the weekend's game, or it's 4 o'clock on a Friday, team sheets are due at 5 o'clock, we're still waiting on yours. So you can send push notifications to those people to take instantaneous action.
Yes.
The history of any push notification sent is appears in the next tab over, and that will show you any push notifications that you have sent from within your sked, and it will detail what fixture it related to, or what grade, or all grades, etc. Will provide you all the information about any push notifications that have been historically sent. So if you wonder, hey, this team hasn't submitted a team sheet, have I already sent them a reminder? You can go in here into the history and check that.
Cool, thank you, Sarah. I think if there's anyone else that would like to talk about sked, Ange, have you got something to add?
Just while we're in the, I guess, the draws and results, the public notes and private notes
Oh, yeah.
are really useful to communicate.
Just while the question came in, when will feds get access to sked to be able to have a click around? Number of feds already have access to sked, but in terms of, for those of you that don't, the access will be provided once those grade defaults have been received back and set up for you. So once your venues, etc. So if you've already sent those in, then there'll be a small amount of turnaround time as they're loaded for you, and then you'll be provided access. Karen and Ange will be liaising with that. So that was a question for Catherine.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're mostly through yours, Catherine. Yeah. Oh, the public notes and private notes that Ange was just talking about. So there's two options there: public notes, private notes. Obviously, private notes, no one's going to see them except for you guys internally. So if there's something you need to remind yourselves about a particular fixture or a team, you can do that in this area here. When you open that up, you can type something in there. If you wanted something to be made publicly, a public note, you can actually put it in here, and that would show up in the draws and results widget as a public note about that game. So if it was a friendly game, a catch-up game, or a catch-up game that was postponed for some reason, you could put that note in there. You can also cut and paste your public notes into all fixtures if you want to.
Karen, the other thing I thought we might just really quickly go over in Comp Builder was just how they set up double headers or multiple games in a day.
Oh yeah, true.
They may use for juniors and for tournaments.
Sure. So we will use Div3 as an example. I'm going to play this. This is a tournament draw. It's going to, oops, we need some dates. Sorry, I'm doing that all wrong. We're going to play 3 games on the 16th of November for this particular grade because it's a tournament. What we would be doing is just selecting a time for those games to be played at. But we'd be choosing this option here, full all times at the first preferred time, then use alternate times. So that means we'd get an 8, a 9 and a 10 a.m. round on the 16th. So we would need to remove quite a few time slots here. and choose the second option here. We then want to only select enough venues for each round to play on. So in this case, we would choose 2 fields because it's 4 teams. I mean, all this is modifiable inside the draw modal as well. You've got your times and your venues. So just for instance, you had multiple sections in one grade. You might choose fields 11 and 12 for the first section, but the next section you might want to change that and use fields 9 and 10 type of thing. So that's automatically scheduled an 8 a.m, a 9 a.m, and a 10 a.m. round for that particular grade. Once you're ready to add it to the calendar, add to calendars down here. Any questions about the double headers? Anything else you want to add to that, Ange?
I think it was good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just a question, Karen, from Josh, just asking, is there a way referees or club members from either side can put in private notes and from the game regarding the game from the app, or is it just comp managers from the website? So Josh, yes, there is a method. So within the app, it lets the scorers, referees actually add a comment. So things like your examples, field not marked properly, or changing rooms unavailable. Yes, they can, as part of the game submission for that particular fixture through the My Football Manager app.
There is also the ability for some of the higher level teams to complete their home and away team reports, which includes that information, and that is also done through the app.
As the SCED administrator, when you're in the draws and results tab, you'll be able to see the teams are highlighted in slightly different colours depending on whether they've submitted a comment on their team sheet or when they submitted the score. And that also gives you the ability to export it. So you can export your results and then easily filter by any club that had made a comment or any team that had actually made a comment. So it makes it easy to go and see those. So we'll cover that in the game day app side of things. I'm just thinking whether it would be useful, because we can go into detail about other areas, that we have any questions or specific things that the federations wanted to go through. I expect there's a lot of things that people want to know, but there's an opportunity now to talk through them at a group level. Does anyone have anything they'd like to talk through, any questions that they've got?
Either your microphones are stuck on mute, or maybe this is it's great if there are no questions at this point. And just a reminder that, you know, obviously there's going to be that session that's going to be more around the game and after game activities coming up on the 19th, and then beyond that there's also going to be your individual contact with Ange and Karen to help answer questions one-on-one, which is probably going to be a more useful opportunity for you, especially those federations that are new to SCED. In that case, was that the end of the? Sarah's also put a link in the chat through to the online support area relating to SCED. There's a bunch of introductory videos as well as detailed information there as well.
Karen, can you just show these searching this for the AI help? Should be something to do as well.
Sure.
I'm sure a lot of people are aware of this.
So we've got sorry. Oh, you want to talk? Yeah, you talk. Go and I'll just show you. Yeah.
Okay, so I was just going to say, on every single page, regardless of whether you're in the comp builder area or online registrations or back in the dashboard, you can actually type something into the Sporty AI help, and this is available for all of the clubs as well, clubs and schools. It recognises the area that you're in, and the intention is that you can type in a sentence and it will provide you a response and also a link to our support articles. So this is currently available for anyone to go and start looking through any of the Sporty AI. It is searching our full support, so it's not just things that are specific to football, it's right across the Sporty platform, but it's available on any page to go and type into the Sporty AI. So quick one there as well.
With a more complex query, I think it's
Well, that's a hard question.
no, that's
Might be
okay.
a new AT.
I thought it was.
Yeah, we can talk amongst
Oh,
ourselves.
yeah, I'm a
while
new
it is
AT, sorry.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry, just to
Sorry.
finish that loop. So it's given a comprehensive answer on creating a playoff with various steps, and then links to support articles if you want to get step-by-step instructions, etc. So this is really useful. So it's powered by ChatGPT, and it's not just a standard chatbot. It is actually using an AI method that understands all of the support. So if you haven't used it yet, I think you'll find it really helpful. Thanks, Karen. Words to you, Joe.
So do you want me to show the online support area as well, Joe? Or
Yeah, I mean, it goes through to the same from the dashboard. We can go through to that tile. But it was more, I was just interested if anyone else had any questions about any of the areas that we've covered, either creating the competitions and team entry forms, any connections like that. Is there anything specific you'd like us to run through?
Yeah, Joe, I've got one question about the comp start and clash resolution. So I saw in Karen's example, when you set up a comp and then you go set up another one, if there's a field clash, the way to deal with it is to leave it as unallocated and place it somewhere later on. Is there any way where they just sit as clashes on the same field in the calendar rather than unallocated, so we know it's like an easier way of seeing whether it was supposed to be a home game or someone or not?
right, only by creating the clash in the venue view would show you but you'd still need to have some sort of record of which are you wanting to leave them as clashes, Shane?
Was just thinking of the easiest way to deal with them. So if like I'm thinking of our region specific, we have a lot of clubs and a limited number of fields, so there's always clashes that we need to manage either by moving them to other weeks or reversing the fixtures. But if they all go and sit and unallocated, it's on the same date. It's just, I guess it's a trickier way of seeing where they were supposed to be in the first place. That makes sense.
Yeah. So what you could do, I guess it's not going to might have to think about this a bit more,
Yeah, that's right.
in a bit more detail. But if you look at your calendar view and you did want to house two games on the same field, knowing that you're eventually going to move one of them, you can create a clash on the venue view by just simply dragging and dropping the game on the same field.
Yeah,
and obviously the
get that.
venue view itself is going to show you that that's not possible, but you just know that you have to find somewhere else for one of these games.
Yeah, but we'd have to
So
start.
that is a way that
We'd have to start the second competition with them unallocated, as I guess that's the only way to start the second comp when there's a clash.
yeah, you wouldn't be able to add the draw to the calendar while it has a clash in it, because that's the whole reason for the validation of clashes, but you could create the clash in the venue view at the same time. So
Okay.
this being a separate document now on opening in a separate window means that you can have it open right next to you on a second screen, and as you come across these games where you've got to rethink and decide which one's going to have the home game, which one isn't, you can put them on you can do that right at the same time and it automatically updates. I don't know if you remember it from the past, it wasn't fully responsive every time you made a change to a game.
Okay, cool. Sweet. Thanks, Karen.
No worries.
I just have a quick question. It may not be relevant or may not, or I may have missed it, but in the junior registration space, do they have to be pushed into teams to be able to use the game day app for scoring? Because like we typically don't have players in our teams for the juniors. It's just a team entry. Does that make sense?
Yes, they do. So
No, only if you require team lineups to be submitted. So you can absolutely score the game in the game day app without having team lineups.
Right.
So it's only if you require, a listing of players for eligibility purposes, for tracking appearances and things like that. So if you have a rule you don't care about the lineups for junior teams, they do not need to be. However, teams can still submit their own lineups for their own purposes. They may want to track it at the club, and that's fine. But yeah, they will need to be in the squad in order to do so. But if you only care about results, they do not need to be in the teams.
Okay, cool. And that applies for seniors as well, like for our lower leagues that don't require lineups?
I think that the logic is the same, but that's probably something that it'd be interesting. I know that there's a desire, I think, to capture more participation data. Obviously, if you're not capturing lineups, completely understand it with some of those junior teams. But if you're moving into senior, we haven't seen that. While technically it might be possible, it's not something that would be helpful, I think, in terms of, you're wanting to capture that data, player history, appearances data, because there's a whole lot of other stuff that's now being made available that didn't exist under Comet, like, for example, appearances information. So
it might just be one for us to think about, and we probably haven't got that far, and I'm interested in probably other federations. Are you going to be pushing lineups at all levels of your competitions now?
Hey, GG, Don here.
Don, I can see your hands up. You're probably good to answer this.
No, mine relates to something else. However, I'll turn my camera on so you know that I'm actually in the office. GG, we already do have lineups across all levels of our competitions, so that is something that potentially you guys have to consider. But team, I just wanted to loop back to Shane's question. And especially when we're working in the junior and youth space where we're creating hundreds and in instances thousands of fixtures, having clashes. Whilst I understand the system goes to unallocated, the actual application and the from a speed perspective for us to be able to deal with those, whilst not speaking on behalf of other federations, certainly for us, we would prefer if the clashes sat in red on the calendar, allowing us to use a simple drag and drop methodology, as opposed to what is potentially proposed. And I just wanted to flesh out what the likelihood of that is.
No, I mean the home and away teams.
Don, our answer is always going to be that everything is technically possible. It just comes down to obviously a request, coming through, making sure that there's consensus around it, and that the prioritisation of that is agreed. So if you're able to raise that back in through DBG, then we can make sure it gets onto that list. And there's probably just it's probably just worth me talking about that process full stop. So this will up for this year. Obviously, previously it was managed by Sean Hamill. In the interim, it's been managed by David Barton Ginger or DBG, helping collate all of the requests coming in from federations for different behaviours or for things that didn't even exist in Comet, as new feature requests, etc. The process, it'll shift, I believe, possibly to Rodrigo going forward at some point. But at the moment, DBG is still our primary contact for feature requests. So there's a process to enable that, to get visibility, to be put out to the working group. Just make sure that we don't have some other federation that goes, no, that's the last thing we'd want. In which case we then need to look at making it available as a configuration option or something. So there is a process, and there's still opportunity to get that stuff in the backlog. So just please make sure it's communicated through. Other questions? There was also a there was something that that DVG had said, had suggested that possibly we raise and get a little bit of feedback here as well. Sarah Green and I presented at the Federation meeting in Auckland back in September, was it? And obviously met with a number of you there. One of the things that we discussed really briefly, but didn't make a decision on, was what we were doing in relation to common grades. So again, I know it's taken the management of grades in sporty. As far as I'm aware, just about every competition management system other than Comet has the concept of grades that are a thing, that have criteria and characteristics around them. As we've shifted to this method, there's been some discussion around whether federations should have a common national or use a common national grade set. We discussed this briefly at the Federation meeting. One of the challenges we have obviously is that at the moment, federations do things quite differently from each other, and with some competition structures and also the way some grades are operated, including interaction between schools and club grades, etc. They can be quite different from one another. We were concerned, we've had a bit of conversation after that meeting, although no decision, I believe, was made at that point. The comment I made at that meeting was that if there was a common grade set, it does simplify things, or can simplify things, especially as a player experience, as for players and parents as they move districts or shift locations and become used to or having to get their head around different terminology. A legacy of the Comet system was that many competitions or grades were effectively just a competition label or name, and some of those would include the names of sponsors and other bits and pieces, and it sometimes would be a little bit confusing. One of the things that has raised its head again over the last week was whether or not there's a desire amongst the federations to shift to a common grade set. If so, would it be all grades, or would it just be junior, youth, or senior, or just junior, for example? The challenge that we have is that it's always the outliers that we look for that are going to be the things that trip you up. So if you said, hey, look, all federations absolutely 100% use the same common grades for juniors, and they are these. But if you said, oh yeah, no, we do, but we actually also run this other thing called the whatever grade for our juniors, or we do something quite different, then obviously it makes it a more complicated conversation. So where we kind of landed from a recent discussion was we're concerned that we don't want to introduce something that creates possibly trips ourselves up, and by ourselves I mean everyone who's dealing with comp management, by removing your ability to simply manage and have your own junior grade set, for example, and shift to a single common grade set. But this is an opportunity, I guess, for that feedback from you. You guys know this space a lot better than us in terms of your own grades. So is there, and DVG, I think you're on the line here somewhere too. I'm not sure if there's anything you would add to that.
No, I guess this, from my perspective, it's probably a subject that's a bit wider than the sporty project itself, that does need discussion amongst the feds. I guess my point would be, have we got enough time to do this now or not? Is it something that should wait till next year, or is there enough commonality there now to be able to make a decision now? I don't know. So I'd be keen to hear from the feds on that.
It's a good point that what will occur, of course, the process as feds will be aware of creating these grade lists initially. was twofold. The very first part was actually to identify your senior grades, and that was to allow Sean Hamill to do a project where he is using those grades to try and marry them against your historic competition names in Comet. That's all the way back from 2018. And the reason for doing that is to allow us to pull forward appearances data for player appearances. So that's literally the number of times someone's been on a field, number of goals contributed per player, etc. And the intention is to, if you're ever looking at time series data like that, where you have a count of something like goals or appearances that needs to accumulate over time, then of course we need consistency in grades. And because Comet doesn't work on the concept of grades, what Sean's been doing is effectively translating your old competition names back from 2018 into grades to allow for a count of those appearances to populate these appearances tables that we've been asked to provide. So that exercise has been helpful because it's effectively helped create, helped identify where those grades exist. It's also it provides that setup information. It's also going to give us visibility on the junior grades for every federation. So we'll be able to share those back into each federation so that you can see. The thing we'll be looking for is commonality amongst those junior grade sets today, and obviously looking also for gaps and overlaps. So it might identify areas of risk, or we might discover that there's this wonderfully clean junior grade set and everyone's the same. Any other feedback from feds on this would be gratefully appreciated.
We were just having an offline conversation whilst listening, and whilst we can't necessarily agree, I guess with the whole of football rolling out, if there was ever an optimum time to align, I guess it's now. Well,
Just lost that last bit.
And Don, we just dropped
sorry.
out.
I came back. Sorry, technology. Whilst I appreciate every federation is probably doing something different in 26 around the whole of football, if there was ever a time to align to a grade set effectively, that could coincide nicely with whole of football 2.0.
So I guess from our point of view, the thing we would need to see is clear direction from NZF, driven by the federations as to what that looks like. Remember, and I'd absolutely take your point on with whole of football too, in terms of timing. We just need to be a bit careful that so long as there's good clarity in a good amount of time, this is something that we really want clarity on now as soon as possible, because this is, we're at that point of trying to get clarity around those grades today. It's, when I say now, this week, next week, I'm just not in January. So if there's the appetite amongst federations to work on a common grade set and to be able to provide that clarity, then we're all for it. If there's a risk, then we need to just be careful for that.
Mike, is there a drop dead date that you need to know by? So, do we have a couple of weeks to have this conversation and come back to you, or
yeah? Look at this. Look, I think you do. The friction here is that we've got some feds saying, hey, I want to get started and start playing with Sked. And normally we'd set up Sked and do all the pre-configuration. And a key part of that configuration is grade defaults and venues. So the tension really is some feds, I think, just want to get going. And other feds would probably say we'd rather wait. I just see a comment from Annie just saying, as being a fed new to Sporty, I think we, NRF, would prefer to get familiar with the system to be able to deliver a good experience for our clubs if there's ability to do a change to uniform naming conventions, do it at a later date. Could we do it then? Just to answer that question first is absolutely. You could certainly take, at that point, remember that the outcome of what we're doing now and also what's learned in 2026 would absolutely provide the guideline for what that looks like in 2027. The next part of that was perhaps juniors with whole of football 2 might be a good starting point this year. And so, which is I think to Don's point, was that if it was going to be a common set, the easy starting point would be juniors. I'm aware that in seniors, many federations actually include literally location names, sponsor names, etc. in the grades. So you need to think how you handle that. So if it's if you have HRV Div 1 and a different federation has a grade that's called Toyota Div 1, right? They're not the same label. And so we would need to think about whether we do something around aliasing or do something special with labels. That does not exist today, so we would need to develop that. It would be too much risk to try and do it now for the start of for the 1st of January kind of regos live. I think it'll be something that it'll be developed in 2026 or 2027. Right, but juniors may be different. You might say, hey, all our juniors are really vanilla. We just have literally, U9, U8, U7, whatever that looks like under whole of football, and that everything now is uniform around the, field sizes, game durations, the actual individual grades. If everyone's going to that for the 1st of January, so if everyone's on the same page, then that would make life, that would make our guidance pretty easy. So maybe we'll let this one now, maybe just let you reflect on it. And if DBG, if you're able to take that up with your group and just let us know. From our point of view, we can accommodate it. There's no drop dead date. It may push back the availability. Obviously, you're not able to start playing with comps for those grades until the grades exist and are loaded. But that's fine. If this takes priority, then I'd say get this right first, try and achieve it over the next week or two, and let us know what that grade set looks like.
Okay, thanks.
Good. I guess while everyone's still in a group environment, is there any aspect that you want to talk about from today, or comment in relation to anything else while we're here together?
I also wanted to just talk about the MyFootball website.
Yes.
So maybe if you can consider the questions you may want to have. Karen, if I could just make sure you've gone into the people tab and shifted us support back to presenter, if we're not already.
Yeah.
Can I just see that?
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
pretty sure I'm no longer presenting
Thanks,
because I
Karen.
actually left the meeting. Well, got bumped from the meeting.
Okay, so we're back there now, and I'm just going to. This one.
Yep, that one. Yeah.
So MyFootball website is intended to be a resource that's to try and take a bit of pressure off feds for questions that may be coming to you guys from clubs. It's being updated, has been updated. The initial pass happened over this last weekend, and it will be updated further. Our target is to have this completed by the club training evening, which is 6:30, is it, Joe, on the 19th?
Correct.
6:30 p.m. So if you've seen this before, you'll now see that a number of things in here have changed. It goes into probably the area that is still being fleshed out that I'll just take you to. There's a bunch of short videos that are going to be coming into this area. The things we're focusing on here are kind of the things that clubs need to do that are beyond just generic sporty platform things generally. So there'll be detailed information, for example, about the red flag process. At the moment, there are just a few links through to the websites showing how to set red flags, for example. Right, so these are kind of the areas that we know that clubs are going to be asking about. Actually, we might talk briefly in this meeting, just a quick update in terms of the data migration from Comet to Serum, just in terms of that free state and stuff, now that that's finite. But so this is the intention is, please send, you're welcome to start sending clubs here now. Just be aware that the short videos are still under construction and they won't be here for another, I'll say, a week, because we've got the 19th is only just over a week away, Wednesday next week. There's also the steps in here that clubs we'd want the clubs to try and follow, which is to try and be self-supporting if possible. Many of these clubs, remember, if we look at the number of clubs today using different systems, so the largest number of clubs in total now are already using Sporty now. There are still a reasonable number of clubs using Friendly Manager, which is fine. They can use that for their member management system. And we're not really looking at that here. We're looking at the stuff that clubs are going to need to do in Sporty that they had previously done in Comet. So in here are things like instructions on how to set up club uniforms, getting started. If a club is using either Club Hub or Friendly Manager, they can request a connection here. This is kind of similar to previously a club that was using Sporty, Club Hub or Friendly Manager that wanted to connect to Comet. A support ticket was raised and effectively API credentials that was set up at the back end to enable that connection. So clubs can continue to use Club Hub or Friendly Manager while those integrations will remain in place, and that effectively lets them just have registered players being passed through into Sporty and then on to FIFA, right? So anything that goes into Sporty will be fully visible for federations and New Zealand football, and obviously depending on whether or not it's a FIFA registration will dictate whether it goes on to FIFA. Other things in here that clubs may want to become aware of is around termination and player movements, that kind of thing. Again, we've tried to make it pretty clear that this is so this we'll have something in here saying this is under construction, but in a week from now it will look a little bit different because it will have those video support in place. There was a question that came up recently around pricing. I think someone had looked at the old site, but I just want to make sure everyone here is clear that the services being provided by Sporty under the New Zealand football arrangement are free for clubs of any size. So that's 100% free in terms of all of that Comet functionality. That's the red flagging, the method for terminations, all of the all the registrations. Sporty also already had a model, and this is where Sporty's probably been, or historically is completely different than the models were operated by Club Hub or Friendly Manager. Sporty already provided a free option for clubs. The free option has some limits. So ordinarily under our free service option, it gives them a member management system that competes with Club Hub and Friendly Manager. Clubs could already get that member management system for free, regardless of the size of the club, but it had some limitations. It would only let them have 2 logins, for example. And if they wanted a website from Sporty that was free, it would have an advertising banner on the bottom of it, and it would have some limitations as to the amount of content on the site. But so that was the model that Sporty operated under as our standard commercial model, is that it had a free level. Under the New Zealand football contract, those free limits have been increased. So for football only in New Zealand, it has increased the number of administrators for the member management system that's available for free. And again, just to reiterate, some people look at this table and become confused and think that my club's got 500 members, therefore I must be paying. That's not the case. It's free for all clubs at this free level, as long as they stay within the constraints of whatever these limits are. Right. So the other thing that there's a little bit different under the New Zealand football arrangement is that ordinarily under our free model, it's 2 web forms and databases for clubs that want to go off and set up their own holiday programs or do other things with online forms. We would provide a free web form database system. under the New Zealand football arrangement, that's been increased from 2 to 4 free forms and databases for any club. What we expect is there may be some clubs out there today that are subscribing to services from Sporty or Friendly Manager or Club Hub that say, hey, you know what, we've assessed it and we believe we can just, merrily get on within this free model and they can save some money. And that's fine. That's absolutely perfectly valid. They can either contact us if they're using our systems to look at downgrading, or they would give notice to Friendly Manager or Club Hub and go to the NZF free model, regardless of the size of their club. If they want more than these limits, that's when these other scales come in terms of pricing, and it's simply that at that point, it's discounted for small clubs effectively. All right, so large clubs would pick up on the pricing based on their size, right? And smaller clubs obviously get much cheaper pricing. Hopefully that we've tried to make it clearer to avoid any confusion that these services from Sporty are free for clubs of any size, right? So the intention is if clubs are struggling with finances, they absolutely should be able to do everything from member management, online forms, their own holiday programs, website, the whole works burger completely for free. If they do have some budget, then of course we do want to encourage them to actually go to a VIP plan. And this is also just an open part of our relationship with NZ Football. This is a partnership. This pricing does help subsidise the service. So from our point of view, we want to see every single club go free. Now, if they have the ability and they have the inclination, they want more from it, then absolutely we would like to see them paying the fair market value for the services we're providing. Right, so hopefully that makes sense. Can I answer any questions around that? I see Josh has put up a question, just clarifying, Mike, those comms around coming from Sporty direct to those clubs to advise this, or should it come from NZF Feds? Are all clubs on an open contract that would allow them to move to free service at any point, no cost? Two good questions. The comms, there are two sources of comms. So Sporty will be putting our comms directly to clubs around what's available. However, the MyFootball website will become kind of a single source for this in terms of that those comms. The intention also, I believe that RE and New Zealand Football are providing centralised comms that are coming from some from NZF, but also recommended for federations to send to clubs, because I realise that you guys often have your own comms plans and club committee meetings or club forums. And I believe and David, DBG, you might be able to comment in relation to club comms. I believe there's something coming out from RE shortly in relation to registration fees and other comms.
Yeah, that will be coming out. That usually comes out directly from RE, but we'll be liaising with Feds on that, with our working group.
Thank you. So it's probably a parallel approach, Josh. To your second question, can they move to the free service at any point at no cost? All clubs it'll depend on whatever contract they have with their existing supplier, including Sporty, right? So from if they're under a contract for services with Friendly Manager or Club Hub or Sporty, they'll need to navigate that, and I'd expect them to contact the vendor directly. That includes with Sporty. So some of our contracts, it depends on the nature of our relationship with the club. There are also many clubs out there have contracts for services for other services beyond the deliverables in the New Zealand football arrangement. So for example, we have clubs that are using Sked themselves to manage their own competitions. We have some clubs that are using custom mobile apps from us and a whole bunch of other services. So the answer is case by case, and the club would contact us directly if they were on Sporty, or contact Friendly Manager directly if they're on Friendly Manager, and same with Club Hub. Yeah, just a quick, I mentioned the data freeze. There are comms coming out on this. DBG, are we okay just to talk really quickly around the data freeze?
Yep, sure.
Thanks. Sarah, can I ask you just to talk about those key dates and what that means?
So we've had a number of conversations in relation to the data freeze and the concept that there are still many competitions still running in Comet during the period of December. So the National League, the Western Springs tournament are a couple of examples. So we have come to a consensus that the data freeze that we're applying to Comet is going to start from the 2nd of December. So this is a registration in person data freeze in Comet. So what that means is that we expect that there'll be no more modifications to people in Comet for things like, changing their date of birth or updating their name or their address or applying a red flag. All of those actions need to be completed by the 2nd of December in Comet. After the 2nd of December, we'll be taking a copy of all of that data and we'll be starting the migration process to pull that data into Sporty here. The competitions can still continue in Comet. Referees can still be allocated to those competitions in Comet. And then when the data has been migrated and signed off by New Zealand Football in the week starting, I think, the 15th of December, once that data has been approved, we'll provide you with an email saying green light, everything's all go in Sporty. And if clubs now need to make red flag notifications or updates directly to people or registration records, they can do that in Sporty from probably the 19th of December onwards. Registrations will open in Sporty from the 1st of January, unless a club has set their registrations and they want to open their registrations a little bit later.
Yeah, so just as a reminder, there are club activities and we'll be covering this in the club training workshop. And really, if anyone that is able to attend that club session on the 19th, we'd really love to have you there and encourage you to attend. But the things that clubs will be doing is they're able to set, for example, their own fees on the form. They're able to set up their own online payments. They're able to connect to Xero, do those other bits and pieces. But they're also able to set their own entry starting date for when their own registrations start. So we're aware that some club committees don't actually get back together until the last week in January. And we don't want, so we're trying to make sure that clubs are aware that their registrations will be open unless they delay, like set their own opening date for their registrations, which is a setting that they're able to set on their own registration form. They could set that to be the first, 15th of January or the 1st of February or whatever they like. But from our point of view, the connection to FIFA will be live on the 1st of January and the registrations will be available for the 2026 season from the 1st of January. But it's key to understand that clubs do control when they themselves open or start accepting registrations to give them a chance to make whatever decisions their club committees want to make pre-season, that we know some of them don't actually do this year. They don't do until January. Any questions around the data migration? I'm sure everyone understands the purpose of freezing the data in Comet. So there's a static data set to bring into Sporty. And in terms of, I think everyone's broadly aware of the data that's coming across. The freeze relates to registration or person records coming from Comet. But the data that is coming across is all of the registration data from 2018 through to 2025 inclusive. All of the appearances data in terms of that Sean Hamill's working on that we're talking about, that he's extracting per grade, etc., all the way back to 2018 as a separate project. We will also, prior to then, have been doing all of the mapping in terms of organisations for the hierarchy. That's the clubs and schools belonging to each federation. And probably also just worth mentioning that there is now an extra level to support federations that have districts, as Central does, for example, having the likes of Hawke's Bay, Manawatu, Taranaki, etc. Mainland has the same thing. So again, this is probably more detail than is needed right now, because remember that from our point of view, we want we know that every federation is a little bit different, and we will be working with you individually to make sure that your own questions are answered and your own setup meets your own needs. Any other questions, or otherwise, was there anything else on your list, Joe?
No.
So in terms of follow-up from here will be a link to the recording. Yeah.
Sorry, it probably has been accounted for, but the NZF Youth Futsal Champs that are running on Comet in December, is that going to have an impact with the player registration in the period of December the 2nd, or will everyone be registered by then?
I believe that one is going to be completed in Sporty, I think.
Right, so the players need to be registered on Sporty for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can maybe if we can confirm back on that through some comms can come back and through DBG.
Unless anyone else knows, I'm still playing catch up
Yeah.
on things.
Yeah, no, Georgie, there's been a bit of backwards and forwards discussion around that. So
Okay, that's fine.
just give us a little bit of extra time. We won't need long, and we'll come back and confirm that.
Cool, thank you. And lastly, on the data freeze, there won't be a way to override it, like if we need to terminate a contract, like an APA for like a player going overseas or moving. Like I just had to do one the other day for a National League player. Is there going to be a way we can do that, or we won't be able to do that in that data freeze period?
We're aware that there'll be some actions that are required to be completed during the period of the data freeze, like international transfer approvals. They'll need to be noted down so that there can be manual modifications made in Sporty once the migration's completed. So we're expecting those to be a very small number.
But in terms of performing them, you meaning that they will still be done in Comet?
Yeah, because there is a like a 72-hour window in which they have to respond by.
Yeah, but that was sorry,
yes, correct.
Stated, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
so what we're meaning is that they would be exempt from the freeze, be done in Comet, and need to be then replicated in Sporty.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We do have a few minutes left. If anyone does have other questions or other areas that you wanted us to drill into. I wasn't looking for your agenda, Joe.
Other than that, so we can send out a link at the end of this to the page that's got the recording and including the password to go through that into that page, so that people have a link to that.
Cool. I think DBG is also going to just ask for any feedback in relation to the myfootball.co.nz website, if there are areas there that you believe are missing or might need suggestions that you might want to have additional content on there. As I say, please, there are two pages at the moment, the support page and the FAQs page have not yet been completed. So there's support page will have videos added and will replacing some of the text there, and the FAQs have not yet been drafted to update that page. But otherwise, broader content. Just a reminder as well that the intention originally was that federations would have something on your own websites that were intended for club administrators to essentially provide a link to the MyFootball website and let them know, rather than trying to reproduce all that information. But please, whoever, if we don't have anyone in all of these walls in this meeting that responsible for federation websites, that is an action item. I'd ask that you could please take away and talk to whoever is responsible for your federation website, just to make sure that in whatever area you have around club administration, that you now would include a link letting people know the process has changed. Also aware that some federations do have some Comet information as legacy information on those sites, just to make sure that it's on your radar to remove any of that legacy content and replace it with as a comment in relation to MyFootball. DBG, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I'll reach out to our working group just in terms of getting feedback from you guys about the MyFootball website, just to get feedback from you to say, is there anything that's missing on there that you would like to see on there for clubs? Also, Mike, just keen to get clarification from you. Is there anywhere on there where feds can go to specifically to get information for questions that they might have and what they need to do?
Yeah, so there's a federation page that's currently password protected. So that's that one that will have the recording. So with the follow-up email we send, we'll remind people the address of that page on MyFootball. It's not visible to clubs, and it's a common password. I think it's Game On is the password. It's not to be shared with clubs, please, guys. This is just for federations. And on there, we will start adding, if there are FAQs for feds, we'll be able to start adding that information to that area of MyFootball that's just federations.
Cool. Thank you for that. So yeah, I'll reach out to you guys at the feds just to see if there's any feedback on the rest of it for clubs, because you guys will know better than anyone what should be on there. And then the other thing I've got as an action point as well is to I'll probably go to Dan and yourselves just to talk about that common grade set as well. Let's start having that discussion and see where we can get to, ideally sooner rather than later.
Magic. Very good. In that case, if there are no further questions, Joe, we've covered your agenda. In that case, I'd just like to thank everyone for your time, and also, I guess, through this process, I realised that a lot of people have put in a fair amount of contribution and a lot of thought and energy into this. Really appreciate your assistance. It's obviously it's not a trivial change, and we will be working our hardest to try and make it as smooth as possible for you and for all of your clubs and schools where those exist. So thank you again for your time, team. We will follow up with those emails.